Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human frigate Defiant, watching the stars through the large window. The ship moved slowly through space at the edge of human territory. His crew had been on patrol for 3 weeks, checking for any alien ships that might cause trouble. "Captain, we're getting a message from Earth Command," said Amy Walsh, the communications officer. She was young and smart, with short brown hair and quick fingers that danced over her control panel. "It's marked as urgent and top secret." Jake turned to look at her. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. 20 years in space had made him careful and wise. "Put it through to my office," he said. The message came from Admiral Frank, Stone himself. Jake knew this had to be important. Stone never sent personal messages unless something big was happening. Jake walked to his small office behind the bridge and closed the door. Stone's face appeared on the screen. The old admiral looked worried. "Jake, I need you and your team back at Luna Station right away. Something has happened that will change everything for humanity." "What kind of something?" Jake asked. "The kind we've been waiting for and dreading at the same time. The Galactic Council has made contact. They want to meet with us." Jake felt his heart beat faster. Every human in space knew about the Galactic Council. They were the aliens who controlled most of the galaxy. 15 different alien races worked together under their rule. No one had ever seen them up close, but their ships were spotted sometimes, at the edge of human space. "They want to meet?" "Why now?" Jake asked. "They say they want to invite humanity to join them. But Jake, this isn't just a friendly visit. Our scouts report massive alien fleets moving toward our borders. I think they're coming whether we want them to or not." The message ended. Jake sat back in his chair and thought about what this meant. Humanity had been alone in space for 50 years, since they first left Earth. They had built colonies on 12 worlds and thought they were doing well. But if the aliens wanted to talk, it could mean trouble. Jake called his crew to the bridge. Lisa Grant was his pilot, a woman with blonde hair who could fly anything with engines. Ben Carter was the engineer, a big man with strong hands who kept the ship running. Amy Walsh handled all the communications and was the smartest person on the ship. "We're going back to Luna Station," Jake told them. "The aliens want to talk." Ben whistled low. "About time. I was wondering when they'd show up." "This could be good news," Lisa said. "Maybe they want to be friends." Amy looked worried. "Or maybe they want something from us." The trip back to Luna Station took 2 days. Jake spent the time reading everything he could about the Galactic Council. The reports were not very helpful. Most of what humanity knew came from watching their ships from far away. The aliens never talked to anyone. They just watched and waited. Luna Station was busy when they arrived. Ships from all over human space were coming and going. Jake could see admirals and generals walking around with serious faces. This was bigger than just one meeting. Admiral Stone met them at the docking bay. He was an old man with white hair and a uniform covered in medals. He had been fighting for humanity's freedom since before Jake was born. "Good to see you, Jake," Stone said. "I wish it was under better circumstances." They walked to a meeting room where other ship captains were waiting. Jake saw some faces he knew and some he didn't. Stone stood at the front of the room and began to speak. 3 days ago, we received a message from something calling itself the Galactic Council. They know about our colonies, our ships, and our military strength. They say they have been watching us for 30 years. The room was quiet. Everyone knew this was serious. They want to meet with a human delegation at their main station. They call it Nexus Prime. It's somewhere near the center of the galaxy. They say they want to discuss humanity joining their council as a new member. "What's the catch?" asked Captain Roy Bennett, who commanded the destroyer Valiant. Stone smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "They want us to prove we're worthy first. They say humanity is too aggressive and needs to learn how to live in peace with other races. They want us to stop building new military ships and give up some of our colonies." "And if we say no?" Jake asked. They didn't say what would happen. But our long-range sensors show their fleets gathering at 3 points around human space. "I think we know what that means." The room was full of angry voices. Some captains wanted to fight right away. Others thought they should try to talk first. Jake listened to them argue and thought about his own family back on Earth. Stone raised, his hand for quiet. We're going to send a delegation. Jake, I want you to lead it. Take your crew and Dr. Helen Price from the science department. She knows more about alien cultures than anyone else we have. Jake nodded. He didn't want this job, but someone had to do it. Remember, Stone continued, you're not just representing Earth. You're speaking for every human who has ever lived and died for freedom. These aliens have controlled the galaxy for thousands of years. Now they want to control us too. The meeting ended and Jake went to find Dr. Price. She was in the science lab, looking at data on her computer. She was a small woman, with gray hair, and smart eyes behind thick glasses. Doctor, we need to talk, Jake said. She looked up at him. I know why you're here, Captain. I've been studying the Council's message. There's something about it that worries me. What do you mean? Every alien race in the Council talks about the same thing in their old records. They all mention giving up something called the Death Curse when they joined. I think they mean they found a way to live forever. Jake felt cold. And they want us to do the same? I think so. But Captain, what makes us human isn't how long we live, it's how we choose to live while we're alive. If they take that away from us, what will be left? Jake looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien beings with power beyond imagination were waiting for humanity's answer. He wondered if they were making the right choice by going to meet them. But humanity had always faced the unknown with courage. They would do it again now, even if it meant facing death itself. The journey to Nexus Prime took 12 days through hyperspace. Jake Morrison watched the strange colors flow past the ship's windows as they traveled faster than light toward the center of the galaxy. The Defiant was small compared to the massive alien ships that escorted them, but it was home. Dr. Helen Price spent most of the trip in her lab, studying everything she could find about the Galactic Council. Amy Walsh tried to listen to alien radio signals, but most of them were in languages no human had ever heard before. Lisa Grant kept the ship steady while Ben Carter made sure all the systems worked perfectly. Captain, we're approaching Nexus Prime, Lisa called from the pilot's seat. Jake came to the bridge and looked out the main window. What he saw made him forget to breathe. Nexus Prime was not just a space station, it was a small metal moon, covered in towers and lights that stretched up into space. Ships moved around it like insects around a flower. Some of the ships were bigger than Earth's largest cities. How many people live there? Ben asked in a quiet voice. The aliens call them citizens, not people, Dr. Price said. And according to their data, over 50 billion citizens from 15 different races. Amy's voice came over the ship's speakers. Captain, we're getting a message from Nexus Prime. They want us to dock at Section 97. The docking bay was huge. Their small ship looked like a toy next to the alien vessels around them. When they walked out of the Defiant, Jake felt very small. The ceiling was so high he could not see it. Strange beings walked past them, some floating in the air, others moving on legs that were not like human legs. A tall figure approached them. It looked almost human but was too perfect, like someone had made a statue come to life. Its skin was blue and its eyes were silver. Welcome to Nexus Prime, it said in perfect English. I am Guide Rel Noth. I will take you to the council chamber. They followed the guide through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Jake noticed that everything was very clean and quiet. There were no loud sounds, no hurried movements, no signs of the chaos that made human places feel alive. Tell me about your people, Jake said to Rel Noth as they walked. We are the Harmony, the guide replied. We have been part of the council for 8,000 years. We have achieved perfect peace and perfect order. What about your families? Your children? Rel Noth looked confused. We do not have children, we do not need them. We have conquered death, so we do not need to replace ourselves. Dr. Price grabbed Jake's arm and whispered, Captain, this is important. They don't have children because they live forever. The council chamber was a huge round room with 15 seats arranged in a circle. As the humans entered, beings that were not quite real appeared in each seat. Some looked like energy made into the shape of people. Others were so strange that Jake's eyes hurt to look at them. The largest figure spoke first. It was made of light that shifted and changed colors. I am High Arbitrator Velthara of the Zephyrians. We speak for the Galactic Council. You are the representatives of humanity. Yes, Jake said. I am Captain Jake Morrison. This is my crew and Dr. Helen Price, our science expert. Good. We have watched your species for many years. You show promise, but you also show the curse that holds back all young races. What curse? Dr. Price asked. Another figure answered. This one looked like a warrior, but its armor was too shiny and its movements were too perfect. I am General Krexvoth of the Korthak Empire. The curse we speak of is death. Your people die, and this makes you afraid. Fear makes you violent. Violence makes you dangerous to the peace of the galaxy. Death is part of life, Jake said. We don't think of it as a curse. The council members made sounds that might have been laughter, but not the kind that showed happiness. Velthara spoke again. That is what all young races say. But we have freed ourselves from death. We have perfect bodies that do not age. We can move our minds to new bodies if the old ones are damaged. We have lived for thousands of your years and learned great wisdom. Dr. Price was writing notes on her computer tablet. She looked up and asked, What happened to your art? Your music? Your stories? The council was quiet for a moment. Then Krexvoth answered, We have no need for such things. We have achieved perfection. Art is the cry of imperfect beings who know they will die. Music is the sound of sadness. Stories are lies told to make short lives seem important. Jake felt anger growing in his chest. Those things are what make life worth living. No, Velthara said. Life is worth living because it continues forever. We will teach you this truth. But first, you must prove that humanity is ready to join the council. What do we have to prove? Jake asked. You must stop your military expansion. You must give up 5 of your colony worlds. You must destroy all research into weapons of war. And you must accept our gift of eternal life for all humans. The chamber was quiet except for the soft humming of machines. Jake looked at his crew. Amy was pale. Lisa looked angry. Ben was shaking his head. Dr. Price was still writing notes, but her hand was shaking. What if we refuse? Jake asked. Then, you will learn what happens to species that choose death over wisdom, Krexvoth said. The galaxy has room for only one kind of civilization, the eternal kind. After the meeting, the humans were taken to guest rooms to rest and think about the council's offer. Jake couldn't sleep. He walked to the room's window and looked out at the stars. Dr. Price knocked on his door. Captain, I need to show you something, she said. Her face was white and her hands were shaking. She led him to her room where her computer was showing data from the station's public networks. I hacked into their historical records. Jake, look at this. The screen showed a long list of names, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. What am I looking at? Jake asked. These are all the races that have been invited to join the council over the past 10,000 years. But Captain, none of them exist anymore. They're all listed as extinct. Jake felt his blood turn cold. What happened to them? According to the records, they all refused the council's gift. They chose to remain mortal. And then they disappeared. Every single one. Jake stared at the list. At the bottom, a new name had been added that morning. Humanity. We're not the first, he whispered. No, Dr. Price said. And if we say no to them, we might be the last. Jake thought about Earth, about the billions of people living their short, beautiful, imperfect lives. He thought about children playing in parks, artists creating new paintings, musicians writing songs that had never been heard before. Then he thought about the perfect, eternal, empty beings in the council chamber. Doctor, he said quietly, I think we need to send a message home. Jake Morrison could not sleep that night. He kept thinking about the list of dead races that Dr. Price had shown him. Every few hours he checked the time and wondered how much longer humanity had left. The next morning, Ben Carter came to his room with a worried look on his face. Captain, I was running scans on the station like you asked. I found something strange. Jake followed Ben to the ship's engineering room. Ben pointed to his computer screen, which showed a map of the space around Nexus Prime. "Look at this," Ben said. "I was checking for metal and energy sources, the way we always do when we visit a new place. But Captain, there are huge metal fields all around this station, bigger than anything we've ever seen." "What kind of metal fields?" Jake asked. "The kind you get when thousands of ships have been destroyed in the same area." "Captain, I think we're floating in the middle of a giant graveyard." Jake felt his stomach drop. "How many ships?" "Hard to tell exactly, but based on the metal density, maybe 100,000, maybe more. And some of this metal is really old, like thousands of years old." Jake called the rest of his crew to the meeting room. When everyone was there, he told them what Ben had found. "So all those races that disappeared," Lisa said slowly, "they didn't just disappear. They were destroyed." "It looks that way," Jake said. Dr. Price was typing on her tablet. "I've been reading more of their historical records. There's something else you need to know. The Council doesn't just rule the galaxy. They own it. Every planet, every star system, every trade route, and they've been expanding for 10,000 years. "Expanding how?" Amy asked. "By finding young races and giving them the same choice they gave us. Join the Council and live forever, or refuse and die. But here's the thing. No race has ever actually joined the Council as equals. They all become servants." Jake walked to the window and looked out at the massive station. "So this whole thing is a lie. They're not inviting us to join them. They're telling us to surrender or die." "That's what I think," Dr. Price said. "But there's more. I found records of Council meetings from the past few months. They've been planning this for years. They're not just going to ask us to give up our colonies. They're going to take them whether we agree or not." Amy suddenly stood up, her face pale. "Captain, I just picked up a coded message from Earth. It's from Admiral Stone." She played the message through the ship's speakers. Stone's voice was quiet and careful, as if he was trying not to be heard. "Jake, if you're getting this message, then you're probably learning the truth about our new friends. Our long-range sensors show massive alien fleets moving toward Earth and all our colony worlds. They're not waiting for an answer. The invasion has already started." The room was silent. Jake felt like someone had hit him in the chest. Stone's voice continued. "We're putting Protocol Omega into effect. Every human ship, every colony, every military base is now on full alert. We're going to fight, Jake. We're going to fight even if we can't win." The message ended. Jake looked at his crew and saw his own feelings reflected in their faces. Fear, anger, and determination all mixed together. "Captain," Ben said, "we need to get out of here and help defend Earth." "No," Dr. Price said. "If we leave now, we'll never get another chance to learn about the Council, and we need to know how to fight them." Jake made his decision. "Dr. Price is right. We stay and learn everything we can, but we also need to get word to the other races. If the Council has been doing this for thousands of years, there might be survivors hiding somewhere." Over the next 2 days, the humans worked carefully to avoid suspicion. Dr. Price hacked deeper into the Council's computer systems. Amy listened to communications between different alien groups on the station. Lisa and Ben studied the Council's UN ship designs and weapons. What they found was worse than they had imagined. The Council isn't just immortal, Dr. Price explained during one of their secret meetings. They're dying. Their consciousness transfer technology is breaking down. The oldest Council members are barely able to think anymore. "What does that mean for us?" Jake asked. "It means they need new minds, fresh perspectives. They've been harvesting the best ideas from mortal races for thousands of years, then killing the races that created those ideas." Amy had found something, too. "I've been listening to the alien groups on the station. Most of them are afraid of the Council, but they can't say anything. But there are some groups that seem different. They talk in code, and they mention something called the Death Sworn." "The Death Sworn?" Jake asked. "I think they're races that refused immortality, but somehow survived. They're hiding on the station, pretending to be loyal Council citizens." That night, Jake made a dangerous decision. He left the ship alone and walked through the station's corridors, looking for any sign of these death-sworn aliens. He found them in a maintenance area deep in the station's lower levels. There were about 20 beings from different races all huddled together around a small fire. When they saw Jake, they reached for weapons. "Wait," Jake said, holding up his hands. "I'm human. We're the new race the council wants to convert." An alien that looked like a giant lizard stepped forward. "Human? We heard about your people. I am Kexvar of the Vrex. We thought your race would be dead by now." "Not yet," Jake said. "But our worlds are under attack. How are you still alive?" "We hide," Kexvar said. "We pretend to be loyal, but we remember what we used to be before. The council found us. We remember death and honor and the beauty of living a life that has an end." Another alien, this one covered in crystal formations, spoke up. "I am Song of Ending from the Crystal Singers of Altair. My people were musicians before the council came. Now only a few of us remember our songs." "How many of you are there?" Jake asked. "On this station, maybe 100 from different races," Kexvar said. "In the galaxy, we don't know. We've been waiting for someone to unite us, someone to start the fight again." Jake felt a spark of hope. "What if I told you that might be happening? What if I told you that humanity is ready to fight?" The aliens looked at each other. Song of Ending made a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We have been waiting for 10,000 years for someone to say those words." "Then help us," Jake said. "Help us learn how to hurt them." Kexvar smiled, showing teeth like knives. "Human, it would be our honor to teach you how to make immortals remember what it feels like to be afraid." When Jake returned to his ship, he found his crew waiting for him with worried faces. "Captain, where have you been?" Amy asked. "The council wants to meet with us again tomorrow. They want our answer." Jake looked at his friends, these people who had chosen to follow him into danger. "I've been making new friends. And I think I know how we're going to get out of this." "How?" Lisa asked. Jake smiled for the first time in days. "We're going to remind the galaxy what it means to be mortal, and we're going to make sure everyone remembers why that's worth fighting for." The next morning, Jake Morrison sat across from the Galactic Council in their grand chamber. High Arbitrator Velthara's light form flickered more than before, like a candle in the wind. General Krex Voth's perfect armor had small cracks that had not been there yesterday. "Have you made your decision, Captain Morrison?" Velthara asked. Her voice sounded tired, which was strange for a being that claimed to be immortal. "We need more time," Jake said. "This is a big choice for our entire species." "Time is something you mortals always ask for," Krexvoth said. "But time is also something you do not have. Your world is already surrounded by our fleets. Your colonies are being occupied as we speak. You can join us willingly, or you can be forced to join us." Jake kept his face calm, but inside he was burning with anger. "You said this was an invitation. Now you're telling us it's not really a choice at all." "Choice is an illusion that mortals believe in," Velthara said. "We have learned that some decisions are too important to leave to chance. Humanity will join the council. The only question is whether you will do it peacefully." After the meeting, Jake hurried back to his ship. His crew was waiting for him, along with 3 new faces. Kexvar the Vrex warrior was there, along with Song of Ending the Crystal Singer and a third alien that looked like a walking tree. "Captain," Amy said, "these are our new allies. They've been planning something." The tree-like alien spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. "I am root deep of the forest mines of Kepler 7. My people were gardeners and philosophers before the council came. We remember what it was like to grow and change and eventually return to the soil." "Tell me about your plan," Jake said. Kexvar stepped forward. "We are not the only ones hiding on this station. There are death sworn from dozens of races scattered throughout the galaxy. Some are here, pretending to be loyal council citizens. Others are on distant worlds living in caves and asteroid fields." "How many are we talking about?" Dr. Price asked. "Perhaps 10,000 across the entire galaxy," Song of Ending replied. "Not many compared to the billions who serve the council. But we remember things the council has forgotten." "What kind of things?" Jake asked. Root Deep answered. "We remember how to fight without rules, how to sacrifice ourselves for others, how to create new ideas when old ones fail. The Council has lived so long that they think in patterns. They expect their enemies to be logical and predictable. But mortals are not logical, HFY added with a savage grin. We are chaos. We are change. We are everything they fear. Over the next few hours, the group worked together to plan something that had never been tried in 10,000 years. A coordinated rebellion against the Galactic Council. Amy had been monitoring Council communications and found something important. The Council members are not just old, they're sick. Their consciousness transfer technology is failing. They need constant treatments to keep their minds working properly. That's why they want humanity, Dr. Price realized. We're not just another race to them. Human brains work differently. We create and adapt faster than any other known species. They need us to fix their failing technology. Ben had been studying the station's systems. I found something too. This whole station runs on a central power core. If we could get to it, we could shut down everything. Life support, artificial gravity, communications, everything. That would kill everyone on the station, Lisa said. Not everyone, HFY said. Those of us who are death-sworn have prepared for this day. We have emergency supplies, spacesuits, small ships hidden in the maintenance areas. We can survive long enough to escape. Jake thought about this plan. It would mean the death of 50 billion Council citizens. But those citizens had already chosen to give up their mortality, their humanity, their ability to grow and change. Were they really alive anymore? There's something else, Song of Endings said. We have been in contact with others beyond this station. Captain Roy Bennett of your destroyer Valiant has been coordinating with hidden groups throughout the galaxy. When we strike here, simultaneous attacks will happen everywhere. Jake was surprised. Bennett is alive? How do you know this? Amy smiled. Because I've been sending coded messages to Earth through the Death-Sworn network. Admiral Stone activated. Protocol Omega, remember? That wasn't just about defending our worlds. It was about finding every mortal species in the galaxy and uniting them. Dr. Price pulled up data on her tablet. I've been analyzing Council psychology. These beings have lived for thousands of years, but they've stopped learning. They keep making the same decisions over and over because they can't imagine any other way. They think in circles. What does that mean for us? Jake asked. It means they'll respond to our attack in predictable ways. They'll try to use overwhelming force because that's what has always worked before. But they won't be ready for the kind of chaos that mortals can create. The plan they developed was dangerous and probably impossible. But it was also the kind of wild, desperate idea that only beings who knew they might die would ever attempt. They would split into teams. Jake and Amy would go to the station's central core to shut down the power. Ben and Lisa would prepare their ship for a fast escape. The Death-Sworn would create distractions throughout the station while also sabotaging Council ships in the docking bays. Most importantly, Dr. Price would broadcast a message to every corner of the galaxy. The truth about the Council, proof of their crimes, and a call for all mortal beings to rise up and fight. This is probably suicide, Jake told his crew as they prepared to leave the ship. Probably, Lisa agreed. But Captain, we've been dead since the moment we agreed to come here. At least this way, we get to choose how we die. And maybe, Ben added, we get to choose how others live. As they walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime toward their targets, Jake thought about Earth. He pictured children playing in parks, artists painting pictures that had never been seen before, musicians writing songs that made people cry and laugh and remember what it felt like to be alive. He thought about the billions of Council citizens around him, perfect and eternal and empty. They had traded everything that made life worth living for the promise that life would never end. Captain, Amy whispered as they approached the central core, I'm picking up massive energy readings. I think the Council is preparing to do something big. Jake checked his watch. In 30 minutes, attacks would begin across the galaxy. Mortal beings who had been hiding for thousands of years would come out of the shadows to fight for the right to live and die as they chose. He touched the weapon on his belt and thought about his parents, who had died when he was young. He thought about friends who had been killed in accidents or by disease. He thought about everyone he had ever lost and how much richer his life was because he had known them, even briefly. "Let's go remind the galaxy what it means to be human," he said, and stepped into the light. Jake Morrison and Amy Walsh crawled through the maintenance tunnels beneath Nexus Prime's central core. The air was hot and filled with the sound of massive machines. Amy carried her communication equipment while Jake had explosives that Ben Carter had given him. "Captain, I'm getting reports from across the galaxy," Amy whispered into her headset. "The attacks have started. Captain Bennett is leading human ships against Council forces near Earth. The Deathsworn are fighting on 17 different worlds." "Any word from home?" Jake asked. "Admiral Stone says Earth is holding, but barely. The Council has more ships than we thought possible." They reached the central chamber where the station's main power source hummed with energy. It was a massive crystal that glowed with blue light, surrounded by control panels covered in alien symbols. Dr. Price's voice came through their communicators. "Jake, I'm in the broadcast center. I've found something terrible in the Council's main computer. They're not just planning to convert humanity. They're planning to harvest human brains and use them to repair their failing consciousness transfer technology." Jake felt sick. "They want to turn us into spare parts. Worse than that, they want to use human creativity to make themselves young again. Every human idea, every piece of art, every song, they want to steal it all and claim it as their own." Amy was setting up her equipment to send Dr. Price's broadcast throughout the galaxy. "Doctor, are you ready? We need to tell everyone the truth before we destroy this place." "Ready," Dr. Price replied. "Broadcasting now to every world, every ship, every communication device in the galaxy." Jake watched Amy's screen as the signal went out. Across the galaxy, beings would learn what the Council really was. Not wise, immortal rulers, but desperate parasites feeding on the creativity of mortal races. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed and a voice spoke in the common galactic language. "All citizens report to emergency stations. The station is under attack by terrorist forces. Remain calm and follow Council security instructions." "They know we're here," Amy said. Jake started placing Ben's explosives around the power crystal. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 10 minutes before they find us," Amy replied. Then her face went pale. "Captain, I'm getting an emergency signal from the Defiant. Ben and Lisa are under attack." Through the communicator, they could hear the sounds of weapons fire and Ben's voice shouting instructions to Lisa. "They've got us pinned down in the docking bay. Council security forces are everywhere." "Can you get to the ship?" Jake asked. "We're trying, but there are too many of them." Lisa's voice came through, interrupted by the sound of explosions. "Captain, you need to finish the mission. Don't worry about us." Jake's hands shook as he continued placing explosives. These people had followed him across the galaxy, and now they might die because of his decisions. Amy suddenly grabbed his arm. "Captain, look at this." She pointed to her screen, which showed space around the station. "Council ships are retreating." "What do you mean, retreating?" "Ships from every corner of the galaxy are arriving. Not just human ships, alien ships from races we've never seen before. The Deathsworn weren't just hiding on a few worlds. They were building fleets." Through the communicator, they heard Dr. Price's excited voice. "Jake, it's working. My broadcast reached hidden colonies we didn't even know existed. Races that have been hiding for thousands of years are coming out to fight. The Council is outnumbered for the first time in their history." Jake finished placing the explosives and started the timer. They had 5 minutes before the station's power core would explode. As they crawled back through the tunnels, Amy's communicator crackled with signals from across the galaxy. Captain Bennett's voice came through clearly. "Earth fleet to all allied forces. The Council's main battle group is breaking apart. They don't know how to fight an enemy that isn't afraid to die." Another voice joined in, speaking in accented English. "This is Commander Kate Sullivan of Earth Intelligence. We have agents on every Council world. The immortal citizens are panicking. They've lived so long they've forgotten how to deal with real danger." Jake and Amy reached the corridor where they were supposed to meet the others. Ben and Lisa were there, both wounded, but alive. Ben had a cut on his forehead, and Lisa's arm was in a makeshift sling. "The ship is ready," Lisa said. "But, Captain, we found something in the docking bay, bodies, lots of them." "Council security?" Jake asked. "No," Ben said quietly. "Children, alien children from different races. They were being kept in hidden rooms throughout the station." Mike gasped. "The council said they don't have children. They said they don't need them because they're immortal." Dr. Price's voice came through the communicator again. "That was another lie. They've been stealing children from mortal races for centuries, using them for experiments trying to understand how young minds work." Jake felt anger burn in his chest. The council wasn't just evil. They were monsters. They ran toward their ship as explosions echoed through the station. The power core would detonate in 2 minutes. Around them, death-sworn aliens were helping the rescued children reach escape ships. As the Defiant lifted off from Nexus Prime, Jake watched through the ship's windows as the massive station shook apart. The blue light of the power core turned white, then disappeared in a brilliant flash. "Station destroyed," Amy reported. "All escape ships have cleared the area." But the real battle was just beginning. Across the galaxy, the largest war in 10,000 years was raging. Council fleets that had seemed invincible were being torn apart by enemies they had never expected to face. "Captain," Dr. Price said over the communicator, "I'm getting reports from Earth. Admiral Stone wants to speak with you." Stone's tired face appeared on their screen. "Jake, you did it. The Council's leadership is dead or scattered. Their fleets are surrendering or running away. But son, this victory came at a price." "What kind of price?" Jake asked. "We lost 40% of Earth's fleet. Billions of people died on the colony worlds. And Jake, I'm sorry to tell you this, but many of your friends didn't make it. Captain Bennett died leading a charge against a Council battleship. Admiral Stone himself died when his ship rammed a Council fortress." Jake felt tears on his face. "They died so others could live." "Yes," Stone said. "And because of their sacrifice, children across the galaxy will grow up free. They'll live short lives and create beautiful things and die when their time comes. And that's exactly what they would have wanted." The war lasted 6 more months. When it ended, the Galactic Council was gone forever. In its place, dozens of mortal races formed a new alliance, not based on control and perfection, but on freedom and the right to live and die as they chose. Jake Morrison became the first human ambassador to this new galactic assembly. In his opening speech to representatives from across the galaxy, he said words that would be remembered for generations. "We serve death because death gives life meaning. We embrace our mortality because it drives us to achieve immortality through our deeds, not our technology." The Council feared death, so they became the walking dead. "We serve death, and that's why we truly live." Years later, when Jake was old and gray, he would sit in his garden on Earth and watch children play. He would listen to new songs and look at new paintings and read new stories, and he would smile. The galaxy was full of life again. Messy, chaotic, beautiful, mortal life. And it was worth every sacrifice they had made to preserve it.